Okay, so everyone's talking about AI assistants these days, right?
Right.
But specifically, we're diving deep into Copilot today.
Uh-huh.
Because, let's face it, who hasn't heard the buzz?
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like, I don't know, like being promised the world's best espresso machine.
Okay.
But then you realize, oh, wait, I actually have to become a barista to use this thing.
Right.
And that's kind of where we're at with Copilot, I think, sometimes. So we're here to bridge that gap, right? We found this great guide about adopting Copilot in organizations.
Okay.
And we're going to really use that as our jumping off point.
Sounds good.
So are you ready to, like, ditch the whole barista training and just get to the AI goodness?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. Let's go. Right.
And you know what I like about this guide is it really doesn't shy away from the fact that, people do hit roadblocks.
Oh, yeah.
It's not this instant, like, you're going to be perfect using Copilot kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding, okay, what are some of the pitfalls here, the things that people commonly, misunderstand.
Exactly.
And then how do we actually unlock the potential? Because it's huge, but you gotta know, what not to do as well.
It's like anything. You got to learn the ropes.
Exactly.
And speaking of things you got to learn, this expert, they lay out five common Copilot traps.
Oh, good.
It's like warning signs on your path to AI mastery.
I like that.
So the first one is blind trust.
Okay.
And I have to admit, I have fallen for this one myself. It is so tempting to just assume Copilot's got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Why do you think we do that?
Well, I think there's just this inherent kind of like magic to AI.
Totally.
Like it's this all-knowing oracle.
Right.
But the reality is, it's only as good as the data we feed it
Mm-hmm.
and the clarity of our instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not reading our minds.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly.
Oh, man. But we wish. Right.
Right.
That's part of the problem. It's like, come on, Copilot, you should know what I want.
Yeah.
Which leads perfectly into the next trap,
Okay.
which is garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
It sounds obvious, but what does that really mean when we're talking about, like, this whole AI world?
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way. You wouldn't expect, like, a 5-star chef
Right.
to create some culinary masterpiece
Yeah.
from, like, wilted lettuce and day-old bread, right? It just doesn't work. So think of Copilot as the chef. Our data is the ingredient list.
Okay.
And if we're giving it disorganized files, outdated info, inconsistent formatting,
Yeah.
that's all going to impact the final product.
So we're setting it up for failure, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay. So data hygiene is key. Like,
Yes.
we can't be blaming Copilot for a bad recipe if we're giving it spoiled ingredients.
Exactly.
Okay, this next one, this is personal, okay?
All right.
The serendipity black hole.
Okay.
Tell me I'm not alone here.
Uh-huh.
This whole, like, falling down the AI rabbit hole where you start with a simple question
Right.
and you end up, like, who knows where 3 hours later.
You are in very good company if you've experienced that
Okay.
because, yeah, I mean, Copilot's ability to, like, generate ideas, make connections, it's incredible.
It is.
But without focus.
Yes.
It's like wandering through a maze, but this maze has infinite hallways.
Right.
And so you're constantly being stimulated, but are you actually getting anywhere?
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, shiny object, every 2 seconds.
Exactly.
So goal-oriented usage is key with Copilot.
Very much so, yeah.
Okay, speaking of goals, let's talk about the trap of what they call first-time failure.
Okay.
Who among us hasn't felt that initial wave of, well, that didn't work,
Right.
back to my old ways.
Yes, this is why I do things the way I do.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that's familiar.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. That's where we miss out on the real magic of AI. Because think about it. Learning a new instrument,
Yes.
learning a new piece of software,
Yeah.
there's a learning curve.
Big time.
That first attempt, it might be clunky, it might not sound great.
Right.
But with each iteration, you're not only refining Copilot's output, you're refining your own understanding of how to leverage its strengths.
That is such a good point.
Right.
It's like expecting to play Beethoven flawlessly the first time you touch a piano.
Exactly.
You're going to be sorely disappointed. It's you need practice, you need feedback, and you need to adjust along the way.
And sometimes you got to practice those scales, those boring exercises
Oh, tell me about it.
to get to the good stuff.
This actually reminds me of an experience I had, kind of a relatable one, I think.
Okay.
Remember that presentation I was putting together last month?
Yes.
Based on that massive research report.
The one with the very ambitious scope.
The very ambitious is one word for it.
Yes.
But I thought, I'm going to be clever. I'm going to save time.
Okay.
I'm going to have Copilot create the presentation.
Okay.
So I fed it the whole document, like, no further instructions, just go.
Right.
And let's just say the result was less persuasive narrative and more wall of bullet points.
Yeah, it's a classic case of, again, Copilot is not a mind reader.
Exactly. Like, it did what I technically asked it to. But it was a valuable lesson, though. It made me realize, like, I need to be way more specific, tell it what I want to achieve, who the audience is, what the key takeaways are.
Right.
Treat it less like this magic button, more like a very capable assistant.
Yes.
Who still needs direction.
100%.
Exactly.
Needs that guidance.
Yes, totally. Okay, that brings us to the final trap.
All right.
Which might be the most tempting of all.
Okay, let's hear it.
They call this the replacement fallacy.
Okay.
This is where we start thinking, well, if Copilot can do all this,
right,
what's the point of even having me?
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to get, like, I don't know, almost seduced by that.
Totally.
Because it's like, oh, it can do all this. And it's happening so fast.
Right, yeah.
That it's easy to get swept up in the hype and think, well, is AI going to make us all obsolete?
Right.
But the thing is, Copilot is not here to replace us.
Okay.
It's here to augment our existing skills and knowledge.
Okay.
So think of it like this, right?
Okay.
Imagine you're like a detective.
Okay.
And Copilot is like your superpowered research assistant.
I like where this is going.
It can analyze evidence. It can uncover patterns.
Okay.
It can generate leads faster than you ever could.
Right.
But it's still your job to interpret that information, connect the dots, and ultimately, like, crack the case.
Right.
So we're not talking about a takeover. We're talking about a partnership.
I like that.
Wow.
It's a partnership.
So we bring our expertise, we bring our creativity, our human judgment.
Yes.
And Copilot provides the tools, the insights to elevate that even further.
So I guess the question then becomes, because we've talked about what not to do, right?
Right.
Like, how do we make sure that we're using Copilot effectively?
Yeah.
How do we move beyond just avoiding disaster?
Right.
And start unlocking those, like, aha moments where AI can really shine?
Right. How do we go from hesitant users to confident collaborators?
Yes, exactly.
That's the goal.
It really does feel like a turning point in a way, you know?
Yeah.
We've talked about, like, dodging the Copilot landmines, but what about actually enjoying the scenery?
Yeah.
How do we go from, like, hesitant users to, as you said, unlocking those aha moments?
Yes, exactly. And I think it starts with a little bit of a mindset shift.
Okay.
You know, instead of just focusing on what can Copilot do, it's like, what do I need it to do?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So are you, like, drowning in repetitive tasks?
Always.
Are you struggling to extract, like, key insights from mountains of data?
Yes.
Copilot can be that extra pair of hands, right?
Right.
Freeing you up for the creative work that humans excel at.
I love that. So instead of just, like, these vague prompts that I give it now, where I'm just like, you figure it out.
Do something, right?
Do something. It's like, I need to approach it with, like, hey, Copilot, I need you to, I don't know, help me wrangle this data into a digestible report.
Exactly.
Help me draft this email, use this tone, highlight these 3 bullet points.
Yes, exactly. Be specific.
Be specific.
The more specific we are, the better Copilot can understand, like, our intent.
Okay.
And then actually deliver results that are useful.
Okay.
And, you know, speaking of being specific, I know you were particularly interested in this whole idea of using Copilot for, like, presentations.
Oh, yes.
Generating slide decks.
Oh, after my wall of bullet points debacle, I need a redemption arc.
Okay, so what are the key things? Yeah, what are some things to keep in mind?
Yes, because I think, you know, for anyone who presents regularly, the idea of turning a dense document into something presentation ready.
Yes.
That's huge. But how do we do that effectively?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing, and this goes back to what we were saying, is remembering that Copilot doesn't necessarily understand what makes a presentation good.
Oh, okay.
Like, it can structure the information.
Okay.
It can pull out key points. It might even suggest visuals.
Okay.
But it needs our guidance on things like narrative flow,
Oh, right.
Audience engagement, the overall message we're trying to convey.
So it's more than just saying, turn this into a slideshow. It's like,
Yes.
what's the story I'm trying to tell? Who am I telling it to? What kind of visual style is going to resonate with them?
Exactly. Give it that context.
Yeah.
Say, this presentation is for a team of executives. I need it to be concise, data-driven, focus on these 3 key takeaways.
Got it.
And then, once it's generated something, right,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to rearrange the slides, tweak the wording, add your own personal touch.
Okay.
Think of it as a first draft, not the finished product.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like that collaboration again. We're the directors.
Exactly.
Co-pilot's the production crew. We need to provide the vision.
Yes.
And then we can kind of work together to bring it to life.
100%.
Okay. This is making me think beyond just like my own personal productivity, though.
Okay, yeah.
What if I'm not just one person using Copilot, but I'm thinking about like rolling it out across my team?
Yeah.
Or even the whole company. That feels like a whole other level of complexity.
Yeah, you're right. It is a much bigger undertaking.
Right.
But the good news is, this expert guide, they actually provide a really solid framework for how to do that,
Okay.
for how to actually scale Copilot adoption. And it all starts with a really crucial first step. They call it a change scope analysis.
Change scope analysis. Okay, break that down. What, like, just hearing those words, it sounds kind of intimidating.
It's simpler than it sounds.
Okay, good.
It's essentially about taking a step back
Okay.
and asking those like big picture questions before you dive into actually implementing anything.
Okay.
So what are the specific challenges that you think Copilot could help your organization overcome?
Okay.
What are your goals for using this technology?
Okay.
Are there any potential roadblocks?
Like what?
And that could be anything from like technical limitations.
Right. To user resistance, to maybe just a lack of understanding about what Copilot even is at this point. Right. Okay. So it's about being strategic, being proactive.
Yes, 100%.
Rather than just like, I don't know, throwing Copilot at the wall and being like, all right, good luck, everyone.
Figure it out.
Have fun with this. So it's like we're identifying those areas where we think AI can make the biggest impact.
Exactly.
And then we're actually creating a plan to get there.
Yeah. It's about setting yourself up for success, not just hoping for the best.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And then once you have a clear understanding of what your needs are, what your goals are, then you move into the next phase, which is piloting.
Piloting.
Yeah. So this is where you choose a small representative group of users to test drive Copilot in a more controlled environment.
So it's not just like, here are your Copilot logins, everybody. Good luck.
Right. Exactly.
We're talking about a structured rollout
Yeah.
with like real world testing.
Yeah. Get some feedback.
It kind of reminds me of, those early adopters
Yeah.
who like get to try the new tech before it's widely available.
Right.
We're basically picking our like Copilot pioneers.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. They kind of get that sneak peek at the future of work.
Yes.
But then, more importantly, their feedback is actually going to help shape how this gets integrated on a larger scale.
Okay.
So the piloting phase, it's all about gathering those crucial insights.
So what are we looking for? Like, what's working seamlessly? Where are people stumbling? Are there any like unexpected hurdles that pop up that we didn't even think about?
Exactly. And it's not about finding fault. It's like,
right.
Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. How do we actually refine this?
Yeah. So we're constantly learning, adapting.
Yes.
Both in terms of how we use it and then like as we bring more people on, how do we train them?
Yes, absolutely.
This is starting to sound less like a typical like, oh, we're implementing new software and more like a cultural shift in a way.
Because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you introduce a tool as potentially transformative as something like Copilot,
right,
it's going to shake things up a bit. It's about evolving workflows, rethinking old approaches,
So are we talking about needing like clear governance then?
100%.
Because it's like we can't just unleash this powerful technology without some guardrails in place.
Yeah, governance is essential.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't be about being like restrictive.
Right.
It's more about just like setting the stage for responsible and ethical use.
Okay.
So, thinking through those questions of like who has access to what data?
Right.
How do we ensure privacy? How do we avoid bias?
Okay.
These are all things that like you don't want to wait till after the fact. You got to kind of address those up front.
And while we're setting the stage,
yes,
we also need to make sure we have the right people in the spotlight. so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm guessing this is where those, what they call Copilot champions come in?
Yes, exactly.
So are these like the folks who are like leading the charge, spreading the Copilot gospel?
More than just cheerleaders. They're like your on-the-ground experts.
Yeah.
They've gone through the piloting process. They've had those aha moments, and they can share that knowledge with their peers, their mentors, their troubleshooters, their talking proof.
Yeah.
That Copilot can actually like elevate, what we do.
I can see that being so crucial, just having those internal advocates, especially when you're trying to get people on board with anything new.
Absolutely.
Speaking of getting people excited, you mentioned something earlier. I think you called it a Copilothon.
Oh, yeah.
Which sounds very intriguing, like a hackathon.
Exactly.
But with AI.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah, so imagine like dedicating a day or two just to collaborative problem solving.
Okay.
But instead of just brainstorming, with whiteboards and sticky notes, teams are actually using Copilot to like supercharge their ideas. So need to analyze market trends.
Yeah.
Copilot can crunch those numbers.
Yeah.
Developing a new marketing campaign.
Okay.
Copilot can help generate content, suggest strategies.
So it's like you're not only familiarizing people with the tool,
Right.
but you're actually demonstrating the practical applications.
Yeah.
In a way that's fun, that's engaging. It's like gamifying the adoption process.
Exactly. And who knows, you might come up with some really innovative solutions that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
It's that human ingenuity combined with the AI power.
Exactly. This
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We went from, like, how do we avoid the Copilot landmines to how do we actually create this future where it's seamlessly integrated and actually enhancing our skills and driving us forward.
And it's up to us, right? Yeah. We have the power to shape how this technology gets used.
Well said. And for those of you listening, I hope this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity.
Yeah.
And maybe given you the confidence to kind of embark on your own Copilot journey. Remember, it's not about being replaced.
It's about being empowered.
It's about being empowered. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep asking those great questions.